question. Now, most of us in here may not be actually addicted to it, but most of us have cravings for it. We love the taste. If you can restrict it, and some people can, they have decided once a week, I'm going to have a dessert. In 6 out of 7 days, they don't touch it. And they can do it, and they can get away with it. I do not think that one ingestion of sugar is going to ruin anybody. It's the day in and day out. That's where the problem lies. Now, weaning off sugar. If you do cold turkey, the vast majority of people with cravings discover it takes about 2 weeks for the majority of it to disappear. Those that are addicted, and we have patients that have been addicted to cocaine and addicted to sugar, they have told us that it takes about 3 to 6 months to get over the addiction to cocaine. You can get rid of it. It will disappear. It takes 9 months to get rid of the sugar addiction. It takes longer to get rid of that than it does to get rid of cocaine addictions. So that's a tough thing to swallow. Now, I think the reason it takes so long is because we keep getting teased with it in our diets. It's tough to totally eliminate it. That ketchup. I love ketchup. Look on the, read the label. How much sugar is there in ketchup? Why do you think we love it? They put sugar in it. Now, the other issue, can we get rid of the sweet taste, the craving, by substituting things that are sweet that are not sugar? Can we use stevia? Can we use xylitol? Can we use agave? Can we use fruit juices as our sugar? I find those are safer. The addict, however, will have trouble with anything that touches the tongue that is sweet, whether it's aspartame, poison, Splenda, poison, whether it's stevia, good, whether it's xylitol, agave, it hits the tongue, it sends a message, a sweet taste message, directly to the brain right then and there. That's separate from what we've been talking about, that is the ingestion of sugar and the rise in the blood sugar. Is that the long answer to a short question? Xylitol is what's been used in Europe for years as the sugar. They couldn't access sugar during World War II. We had all the sugar we wanted, but they couldn't access it. I guess they didn't have the ability to refine it, so they used xylitol. Xylitol is actually a biochemical substance that our body makes, so the body knows what to do with it. We already know what the body does with glucose. Yeah, it knows what to do with it, but we keep feeding too much of it. Yes?
How would you know, without getting, that neurotransmitter, and finding out what the neurotransmitters are doing in your brain, whether you're addicted or if you just, have a craving?
How do you know if you're addicted? If you're addicted, you will, it's just a strong craving. You take the sugar in, you know it affects the joints, you know it's going to give you a migraine, you know you're going to get a stomach ache from it, and you do it anyway. You know it's ruining your family. Your whole family hates the mood you get into when you take the sugar in. You're irritable. You're just like the alcoholic coming home drunk. Everybody hates you. And what do? You're addicted and you keep doing it. That's an addiction. Craving is, you hide it. No one's looking. You go eat it. Those are cravings. But if the addicted person, they can't avoid it. They're addicted to it. So there's a fine line between where the way out here addiction is easy to define. The cravings kind of here, but when does it turn? I don't know. Okay, so sugars. We've talked about sugars. Now, where are our highest sources other than sugar that carbohydrates come from? These are going to be your potatoes, your rice, all the grains, wheat, pasta, rice, potatoes, and fruit. Fruit's the fructose sugar. We don't measure fructose sugar in the bloodstream, but the fructose sugar does a lot of the same damage that the glucose does, and eventually fructose does break down in the body into glucose. The chemical structure, the structure is different, but the carbon and hydrogen and oxygen molecules are exactly the same in fructose and glucose. They have the same number. So it isn't much to convert a fructose sugar into the glucose sugar. So those are your 5 things that are high carbohydrates, and that's where you have to limit.
Is that not in the realm of what you're going to talk about high fructose corn?
Oh, high fructose corn sugar. Oh, no. That's a poison. If the sugar of high fructose corn syrup was not the problem that we've already talked about, where it comes from is the biggest problem. And next month we're going to talk about genetically engineered food. And that is the biggest problem with high fructose corn syrup, because the corn is genetically modified. 80 to 90% of the high fructose corn syrup is coming from genetically modified food, and that is scary.
It's processed with mercury.
Has some mercury in it too. See, they have to process this. And what are the vats and what do they do in the processing of all of this? If you make it, you know where it came from, you know where it's going. Whole grains, we talked about that. Fruits, we talked about that. So now we must be on page 18. The legumes. Legumes, the beans, peas, and lentils. Now soy is a legume. But you notice soy is not on the list. Soy is not a healthy product. It's anti-thyroid. It has anti-thyroid properties. It is, unless you ferment it, which is your miso and your tempeh. That's what the Japanese do. They ferment all the bad stuff out. So now it's a good, healthy protein. But we put a soy protein isolate. We have soy milk. We actually feed it to babies as a soy product. Anti-thyroid, anti-endocrine properties that are part of the soy. So I don't even include that now in this handout. About 2/3 of the legumes are carbohydrates. The rest of it's proteins and a little bit of fats. Nuts and seeds. About 1/4 of it's carbohydrates, 1/4 protein, 1/2 of it are fats. So now we're getting less and less carbs. So you can start eating more and more of these things as you're trying to reduce your total carbohydrate intake. Vegetables have the least carbohydrates, but corn is about as bad or worse than beans, than the legumes. So you do have to watch the corn. Corn should have been made of fruit. I mean, there's the endless discussion on where's the corn and the tomato supposed to be. Is it a vegetable or a fruit? Still going on. But there's not nearly as much carbohydrates in a tomato. Vegetables, and where is there no carbohydrates? Your meats, your cheese, your eggs. Eat all you want of those. If you're on, of course, meats have all those problems with them. Every meat has a problem. But cheese, eggs, all the eggs you want. You want a dozen eggs a day, it's going to lower your cholesterol. It's going to make you healthy. It will not raise your cholesterol. So, basic recommendation of what we've done. Eat less potatoes, bread, rice, and pasta. So this is our diet recommendation for people in diabetes or people with insulin resistance. Drop the carbs. This is how we're going to do it. Less potatoes, pasta, rice, bread, less fruit, and eat more legumes, nuts, seeds, vegetables, cheese, eggs, meat, fish, and poultry. All the things that have less. What a simple diet. Yes?
What's the highest level of cholesterol that you use? The number on cholesterol.
Number on the cholesterol? 300, 400, 500, 600. No relationship to heart disease. Absolutely none. Now, once you get in the 4, 5, 6, 700 range, now there's so much cholesterol that the body is going to start depositing it. You're going to get little, they call them lipomas, little fat things all over the body. It's not, but there's no risk to it. So 270 would make your doctor roll over in the grave. Now, if you want to be sick, go get on a statin. That's your ultimate sickness.